Thank you, Kim, for inviting us to be here, and Threadless for hosting. We're really honored to be a part of Creative Mornings. I'm Linsey, and this is Crystal, and we're INDO. So Kim did a pretty good introduction of what we do. We've been doing this for 6 years now, and this year we took on 31 projects, which is double what we did last year. And today we'd like to tell you a story of how we got started and what we learned along the way. So we, So we do window display. That's where we first started. This is a window for Teagish Fender out of expired hibiscus. And what? You have to click. Oh, sorry, I'm confused what slide I'm on. It's showing me both. So this is the Teagish Fender window out of expired hibiscus. This is one that we did about a year ago. We also do art installations for private offices. This is for NRDC. We also do it in ad agencies. We started doing set design. This is a photo shoot for a local Chicago clothing line called Hound. And then we're starting to integrate more interiors work. This is 88 brand partners. We also did the whole interior, and then we did the art installation. So it all started with an opportunity. In 2007, we were both working full-time, and Crystal was shopping in Wicker Park, and she stumbled across this window display it was a mannequin walking a bunch of balloon animals. And she was really excited about this display and found out that they let anybody do their windows. All we needed to do was give them a pitch. So she called me up and asked me to collaborate, and I gladly accepted. So this was our first display. We did their windows for about a year, and during that time, we developed a relationship with Salvage One. And as you see here, we used an old wine barrel in the display. The whole concept was it was a wishing well. And we stumbled upon this relationship with them because when we went to go look at this barrel, it was really expensive and we had a small budget, so we had to be resourceful. And they ended up agreeing to letting us start a relationship where we would borrow the materials and we would just put a little sign in the window saying where they came from. We used all sorts of materials, old windows, doors, glass fixtures. We even hauled this massive clawfoot tub, which we think we're a lot stronger than we actually are. And it probably exceeded the weight limit of my VW, but we did it. And we also got a little bit of space to work in out of Salvage One, which was really cool for us. We had a place to build our installations. And things didn't seem to be slowing down for us, and we were really excited about that.
So after doing the Nation City Souls windows for about a year, that was when the recession hit. So we lost that client, and we were pretty much out of things to do for other people. So we decided to try to walk around Wicker Park selling ourselves. So we made business cards, we decided on a name, and we basically just walked into stores saying, we would love to do your window displays, we're INDO. And people just didn't like it. They either thought that we were saying that their displays were bad, and they were a little bit offended, or they just didn't have any money to spend on window displays. So we had to keep going and figure out another way to get clients. So after the Nation City Souls thing kind of expired, we had to move out of Salvage One, and we found a little 300 square foot space in actually the building that we're in now. There were 6 other artists renting, and our friends Ted and Sharon had a space there, and they basically peer pressured us into getting a space, saying like that we absolutely had to do it. at the time, me and Linsey were both working full-time, and so we were just doing this on the nights and weekends. And the neighborhood was really great for us. We met a bunch of people that were our neighbors, and there was one boutique in particular, Pivot. It was a sustainable fashion, eco-fashion boutique, and Jessa Brinkmeyer invited us to be part of a panel on young and sustainable. So there we got to present with a few other people, and we met 3 of our clients. Some of the clients included, of course, Pivot, but also Kalori. It was one of the first eco-paint boutiques in Chicago, and she was just so excited. She let us do a few windows, hired us to do a few windows, and we got some press out of it. And it was so exciting to get a little piece of press because that meant people were noticing what we were doing, and it wasn't just about the window display, it was about the sustainability focus, and we were starting to kind of realize that maybe we were onto something a little bit bigger than just doing window displays on the side.
So now that our momentum had picked up a little bit, we decided the next step was to grow. So we went from our 300 square foot space and rented a storefront on Grand. And but the tricky part with that is we could really only afford $300. So we adopted the co-working model, and we shared our space with other designers and artists. And that was a really great thing for us to be able to grow into our space. It was a little bit hard at points because we were also now having kind of a co-working business, and so we basically had to manage the space and keep up with that alongside making these large installations. This is the space on Grand. So during this time, we also incorporated, and we started to build relationships and we infused ourselves in the creative community. And this happens naturally, as I'm sure you all know. The world just gets smaller and smaller, and the creative community in Chicago is so supportive and awesome. We met designers, artists, photographers. We used to hang out with the Post family all the time, and we went to art shows. We started to meet people who worked at agencies, and we were planting all these little seeds. And eventually, the work started to come to us. So we got our first big job, and it was with Shannon Downey from Pivotal Productions, and she has a focus on sustainability in her business. She does events and PR and marketing, and so she was really excited about what we were doing. She invited us to be a part of this project for Urban Innovations. They have a lot of buildings kind of around the Merchandise Mart area, and the city holds an initiative called the Green Office Challenge. And so it's really just a way to get people in offices excited about lessening their impact on the environment, so learning to recycle more and bike to work and stuff like that. So with this job, we had to get business insurance. And so as all of these things are starting to fall into place, things are just getting a little bit more real. While we did get a lot of our work through networking, the other thing that was really important to us was having a strong online presence, because we were starting to discover that's where we were getting more than 50% of our work. And so having a strong brand, having a strong web presence, and we learned that as a maker, the most important investment you can make is to hire a professional photographer, because it's important to have your work look the best it can be. So I remember the first time we got our folder we hired Julia Stotts, and we worked with her for about 2 years, I think. And we get this folder from her. She took maybe like 5 or 6 projects she shot at once. And I actually ended up crying like a baby because it was so beautiful, and we'd never seen her work in this way. So we think that's a really important thing.
After building relationships with the creative community, we started getting more work in, we're having this problem because the materials that we use are reclaimed materials, discarded materials, salvaged materials, and sometimes they're really hard to find. So we were getting a lot of them on Craigslist and eBay, and there was this one project in particular where we had to source about 10,000 pounds of paper. So we started doing it with our friends, and in about a week we maybe built up like a tiny little pile, and we needed to fill up a wall that was 40 feet wide by 8 foot high. So we were calling around to all the recycling companies that we could get a hold of, and Waste Management has a paper recycling division, and the owner actually really loves art. So they got really excited, and they donated all the paper to us. They brought it to us in big trucks, and they even hauled away the stuff that we couldn't use. And so that was the beginning of us seeing the value of creating more relationships with our materials community. And now we have a relationship with a plastics recycler, and they just get so excited when we're looking for a new material, or if they get a new material and they're like, this is awesome, you have to come see it. So building that network up for us was a huge discovery that led to like all these new materials that we could use all the time. So making connections. Part of the materials in our work, what is really cool to us is how we've gotten comments about how it can inspire people to make little changes in their lives. We did this one installation in Wicker Park, and we dug, we took 3 days, we collected styrofoam cups from dumpsters and washed them out and made an installation out of it. It ended up being really beautiful. The cups looked new, and I think Linsey's sister told us that her friend was like, I should get a reusable cup. And that was exactly like, there was a little tagline on the window that said all the cups were sourced from city dumpsters or city trash cans. And so we don't try to hit you over the head with what we're saying, but like when people look a little bit further into it and can make that connection, that's really important to us. And the same thing happens with the retailers that we work with. People love telling the story of where the materials come from, and they can make extra connections with their clients and the people that come into their space by having something interesting that they can share, another layer of what's important to their business, or even just like a fun story.
So everybody has a process, and our work is very process heavy, and it's constantly evolving and changing. We're always learning how to be more efficient. But one thing that's really important is sometimes you just have to trust it, even if you're not really sure how things are going to turn out. Because every project we do is site-specific, and a lot of times we're working with a new material we've never worked with before, and there's a lot of unknowns. So one project in particular we worked on was through the Chicago Artists Coalition, and it was for the Taste of Chicago. It was the first year they were doing a chef du jour tent, and so it was this encapsulated dining experience where they brought celebrity chefs. And the challenge was to create this impactful dining experience in a 40-foot by like 30-foot tent, and it was really high. And so one of the challenges we had was that we only had 2 days to install, that's really short for us. Usually our work, we spend at least a week installing. So we had to do a lot of planning up front. And we came up with a cabling system and did a lot of research, met with the tent company, saw a tent example, and really tried to make sure that how we were going to hang this was going to work. The installation was heavy. It was around 200 pounds. And let's see. And one other step in that process is, so we had a prototype phase, and this is the new material we got from the plastics recycling company, and it was a really rare find for us because these sheets were really large. They were like 3 feet by 4 feet, and they were clean plastic, and we had a huge stack of them. So working with this material made sense since we were on a tight time frame. But as we were prototyping, we learned that the paint wasn't really sticking to it because this material they print on digitally normally, and that was pretty much the only way we would get ink to stick. But since we didn't have that in our budget, we had to do it another way. So we ended up screen printing onto this plastic, and we learned that we just kind of had to embrace the flaws in doing that because the paint was scratching off. You would have a thumbprint. If you touched it and your finger was warm, you would leave an impression. But we decided that it's going to be so high up, the ceilings are about this high, no one was going to see that, and even if they did, that's the beauty of the craft and working with their hands. And another thing that we've learned in our experience is sometimes you just have to go with the flow, and you can't always plan for the unexpected. And this project there was a few things we'd never done before. We'd never done an event. We've never done anything outside. So there was a few things that happened that we didn't anticipate. One of those was a freak thunderstorm, and it was insane. It was beautiful. As you see in this photo, it was sunny, it was July, it was hot, it was humid, and we had our installation in a pile in between two tents, and the wind started to pick up, and we got this huge rainstorm that just dumped all over it. And the material was delicate because this paint was just sliding right off, so the fact that it got drenched, we just had to go with it. We're like, well, it is what it is, and so it passed after like 10 minutes, and we laid all of the sheets out on the brick and dried them out by hand individually, and there was 200 of them. And we had 2 days to install, but it wasn't a long day. We had about 6 hours because we were working with union labor, and we had a forklift operator, and he kept getting stolen away from us, from other people who needed his help. So it was a little stressful, but we trusted that it was all going to work out, and it was going to be great. And this is the result. So in the end, everything worked out. It might not be exactly what we anticipated, but it is. Yeah, we liked it.
My dad actually, my parents don't go to our work a lot, and after the thunderstorm, my dad went to see it, and he was like, "Chrissy, this is not looking very good." But we fixed it. We straightened it all out.
It was wind too.
Yeah,
there was a lot of wind, and the tent walls weren't up yet.
Yeah.
So it was like they were crashing against each other, and then it was humid, so they were curling. And they had a plan of putting AC in there. So I forgot about that. So when he said that, and things were falling, and that was the scary part. Is like people can't be like having this great dining experience and then have these like huge, massive plastic sheets like falling on their heads. It would have been really bad.
That was a little scary.
It didn't fall, though. No pieces fell once we got it all up there.
So one thing that we've learned throughout the years is when to take a break. Especially in a partnership, we always try to encourage each other to have a good work-life balance, because sometimes you'll see the other one becoming like obsessed with what they're doing and like working really late, and they just need a break. And we both have like family and pets and just things that we want to do outside of work. So we try to encourage each other to go experience other things, because I'm sure we've all worked at jobs where staying late is like the thing that you kind of brag about in some way, and we try not to do that. And the other thing, working with such intricate, time-consuming things, is sometimes you get so frustrated that you'll just mess it up if you keep going. So we try to take breaks and take a day and then reflect on the process and reflect on what we're doing, because that's the best way for us to make sure that everything looks good, and to not kind of mess it up, because you're only looking at this much and it's really a lot bigger than that. So we really appreciate being invited to Creative Mornings. Obviously, we make things, and we use creativity in our process to make our projects, but our entire business experience has been a creative process. We never set out to create a business or to make a business plan, or even at first to make money. We just wanted to do something that we loved and make things. So creativity for us has been an inspiration, more than just what we do with our hands, but how we try to practice our business. So we really appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.